Hey everybody, how's it going? You're listening to the first official episode of the Star Wars Syndicate podcast, a Star Wars podcast without bias. I know what you're thinking if you tuned in last week. Well, what the hell was last week? Last week was a 2-hour debut special that featured 5 of us in a star table instead of a round table, and it was one hell of a show. Ty Nelson and Thomas Patrick Bradshaw brought out all the stops. The other 2 guys are rejoining me tonight, and we have a special guest host for this week who we haven't talked to in a long time as well. But first up, it's one Mr. Arnold. How's it going, man?
Hey, man. Happy to be here as always. It's a good night to podcast. It's a good night to talk Star Wars, and it's good company to talk Star Wars with. So I'm excited.
Well, glad to have you, man. Next up, he made his return, actually, I guess his debut, technically, on the Fandom Cantina network, as it was once named Night Force Media, last week during the special, but he's back, and he's a co-host of this show. It's Mcmahon. What's happening, dude?
Oh, it is a fantastic, beautiful week. Apparently, it's already time to start talking about next year's Halloween costumes. Yeah, we're not even in January yet. A thing that happened on Saturday, and it's now spawned into my Halloween costume for next year.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you what, I had a lot of fun on Halloween this year. And also joining us tonight, if you listened to Star Wars Wastelands back in the day, I believe he was Me Too. Me One's somewhere over in Korea, South Korea, North Korea. I can't remember which one. I haven't seen his Instagram post in a bit, but he's over there doing his thing and joining us tonight. It's Andy. What's happening, man?
Yeah, it's going great. No, we got rid of me one or whichever one. Now it's only me. Screw that guy.
Yeah, he's over there doing something. I talked to him a few weeks back. He seems like he's doing okay for himself. Guys, Star Wars.
What's
Is that what we're here for?
That's what. Oh shit! Wrong channel. I'm sorry.
Again, this is an unrated show. Language can get foul. If you don't like it, then this probably
It's
isn't the show for you.
11:30 a.m. on the East Coast.
A.M.
If you're listening to it, yeah.
Oh wow, you're doing good. Your days are
doing fantastic. Believe me, if you've seen
over
some
in
of the
Japan.
If you've seen some of the things I typed today, man, you'd think I was drunk all day.
I thought I was about to be
typed a
cautioned on
message.
language. I was like, oh no.
I typed a message in a chat that I looked at 5 minutes later and said, "What the hell was I typing?"
Did you take up alcohol in the last 5 months?
Apparently, today I have taken it up, and it's some weird things are coming out of my mouth today.
Oh, I bet Zach has. I bet Zach has quite a bit of happy juice for us all. I hope so, anyway.
Dude, I still got stuff from the last time I went to Specs. I got plenty to go around.
You should feed him coffee. See what happens. Bring him to a grocery store. Apparently, it's a rad time.
Especially around Halloween.
Sage can attest to that. He was in the group chat that I sent my messages to, and he literally sent me a private message after I went on my tangent. He was like, "Dude, are you okay?" Because I was having some fun.
Wow. Well, we have 4 interesting Star Wars topics for this evening, and that is George Lucas making a Kenobi film. That's one topic, and take that one with a huge fucking city of salt, probably, if not country of salt, let alone bucket of salt. Also, the Case of Kylo Ren. I think each week we're going to do a case on each Star Wars character, and I think Kylo Ren might have the most up-in-the-air case of all the characters right now, including Rey. So we're going to do that. We're going to talk about some Episode 9 speculation, and we are also going to talk about a pick that came out the other day. I think Zach posted it in the Fandom Cantina chat. It might have been someone else, but I think it was Zach, and I believe it was
I shared it. I shared it, but it was from the guy's primary Instagram page, so I can't take all the credit.
And that was the MCU Directors reuniting on the set of the Mandalorian, which is for the moment still slated for a late 2019 release. and we're going to talk about that. But let's start off with this rumor that seems to be going around that George Lucas is set to direct a Obi-Wan Kenobi standalone film. Let me just start off by saying I don't believe this for a single second. And I'm not going to go to each one of you, much like the episode of the Fandom Cantina. I just want everybody to jump in where they want to jump in. So free-flowing discussion. I don't think this is real. I think it's fake. I don't think George Lucas would answer to Disney. However,
Fake news.
I would like to cover this from the perspective. I mean, we can all give our thoughts on if we think it's real or not, and I think it's absolutely fake. But if it was real, how would everyone feel about George Lucas doing the standalone Kenobi film? Take it away, guys.
I'm gonna start with by saying I'm taking this story with as much salt as currently resides in the Dead Sea.
It's a lot.
Okay, that's a lot of salt. It's a lot of salt.
You float in there.
As to the what if of it all is huge. It's astronomical. You know, Obi is for me the
Hold on
one.
1 second, guys. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh, I hear little Jawas in the background. Uh-oh. Or Ewoks. Continue.
They are far cuter than Ewoks, okay? No, I can't believe you compared them to Ewoks. I digress. What if... Oh, the what if is amazing for me because Obi-Wan Kenobi is the one character, to me, and, you know, anybody who's listened to my opinions on Wastelands long enough knows I am an unabashed prequel hater. I'll say the H word. I'm a hater. But Kenobi was the one character that I always thought that 1, 2, 3 was my favorite. He told the best story. And the idea of George coming back to fill in the story, what really happened, it's just, oh, God. It makes me very excited, very happy. Lord knows we're never going to see it, but, oh, God. The one thing George Lucas could come back and say, yeah, I'm doing this, and I get extremely excited, would be an Obi-Wan Kenobi film.
Wow, I kind of surprised that's your take. Zach, how are we feeling about the likelihood of this, and if it did happen, what you would think of it?
I'm gonna keep my answer to this one rather short and sweet, and make it reminiscent of an age-old meme that I feel like needs to be dug out of its old stash. Just a couple of thumbs up, some sunglasses. 3-letter word, man. You all know it. Meh.
Wow.
I'm with you guys. I don't think George is ever going to answer to Disney, and if he does, he's going to be too confined to be able to tell his own story that he wants to tell anyways. So even if you get George, even if you get Ewan McGregor, even if you get said Kenobi film, there's still going to be people that don't like it. There's still going to be conflictions. There's still going to be reshoots, more likely than not. Like there's so many other factors in there that just make this sound like a really, really bad idea. I'm not on board with the idea of bringing George out of retirement to do a standalone film. If you're going to bring George out of retirement, have him do one of his fucking episodic movies. Don't have him do a fucking standalone film. So I just would much rather see him utilized in its fullest capacity if he's going to be used. But I don't see him coming out of retirement. I don't see him answering to Disney. I don't see the Kenobi film happening, period, as disappointing as that sounds. So, I mean, as much as I would be intrigued and I'd still watch the movie, like it's Star Wars. I'm going to watch it. I grew up on Star Wars. As intrigued as I might end up being from it, I don't see it being a success, whether Lucas is at the helm or not.
Well, if someone asked me, like, if it was one of those things where it's like, attach the quote to the face, I would have attached your quote to McMahon's face and McMahon's quote to your face.
See, what we haven't told you is that Zach and I are experiencing about a Freaky Friday, so that's what's going on tonight.
Wow.
Oh, great. Now I've got to have all of your hot takes for the rest of the episode.
I don't know if I have enough nice things to say to be you for a night.
I've got to put myself in a McMahon headspace. That's scary as fuck.
Yeah, dude, you don't want to do that. Just don't. Just stop. Take the one thought of mine and leave it.
I think it would be amazing. George Lucas and Ewan McGregor got along great, so I think there'd be some chemistry there. That said, I think there'd be this like, I don't know if George Lucas could ever do a Star Wars movie answering to Disney. One, he'd have to answer to Disney. Two, the media publicity would be, when's it going to break up? When are they going to split? When are they going to piss one another off? There'd be so much media-created drama behind it that it'd be hard to pull off. But if there was one character I'd want to see George Lucas do, if he was doing a standalone, it'd be Obi-Wan Kenobi. Absolutely, for all the reasons McMahon gave earlier. Definitely Obi-Wan.
That's a lot of ifs, though, dude. Are you not hearing how many ifs you're saying?
Oh, I'm saying there's a lot of ifs. I'm not saying it wouldn't come out to be a complete disaster, and for like 2 years of making it, it'd be, oh, God.
You put
George
in
just
all
punched Bob
that
in the
effort,
face.
and you put in all those details, and it's still going to be overseen by Iger and company. And if Kennedy tries to step in, he's going to be like, who are you telling me what to do? I made this bitch. Like, none of it sounds like, it sounds more like a logistical nightmare. None of it sounds like it would turn out into something good. Aside from the Lucas and McGregor chemistry, I don't feel like they would allot the proper budget to that film. I don't feel like it would tell a proper story. I don't feel like it would. I just nothing about it sounds like a good idea. As much of a Kenobi fan as I am, I mean, I wasn't on board with the Solo movie either. It still turned out pretty good, and it was still pretty respectful, but it's not my favorite Star Wars movie by any means. It's not even my favorite standalone by any means. So I would much rather have the adventures of Obi-Wan Kenobi that we've currently got, rather than something get put into his character and into his timeline that we end up regretting exists.
I can see that point. I'll give you that. I can't sit here and say that anything that you just said is wrong. And I also liked your earlier point about giving him an episodic movie. I still say that episode 10 is going to come out in 2027, 50 years from the day of the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
First movie actually being the fourth movie. And it'd be cool to see Lucas do it, but the problem is he'd be continuing it would feature some characters of what we've got in 7, 8, 9, and I don't think Lucas really wants anything to do with those, so I don't see it happening, but...
Or we just start fresh.
Oh, see, I think 10 needs to close it.
I'd be okay just telling a completely different story with a completely different character, completely different part of the universe. Take me somewhere else.
I don't think it needs to be episode 10 then. Let's not call that episode 10 then. Let's just
let's by all means call it episode 10 so that we're done with this shit show of a trilogy we've been dealt. Start fresh.
Oh, Zach with the hot take. Shit show of a trilogy. Just remember, everybody, I didn't say that first. Someone else did.
Fucking boot this shit and maybe just start all over. We've seen so many reboots of classic series. Why not do a brand new 50th anniversary edition of A New Fucking Hope? Give me the story of Luke Skywalker and a grouchy Ben Kenobi and give me completely new characters. I'd be okay with that, as long as it's not what we've been dealt in these last couple of years. The Force Awakens was a soft reboot at best, and a bland storyline at worst. The Last Jedi felt like what should have been the third part of a trilogy, and felt like it was so rushed it crammed 2 movies into one because Rian Johnson knew he wasn't getting the third movie. and it ended up making all of the characters very two-dimensional, very nothing for the most part, an extension of the foundation they were given in The Force Awakens at best, and sets up almost nothing for their potential in Episode 9. J.J. Abrams has a completely clean slate now because 8 retcon 7, and now 9 can retcon 8. Episode 9 is not even going to round out this trilogy, so why not make Episode 10 something that we don't have to participate in or remember from the stuff that we've gotten from 15 through 19?
Wow.
That rant should have come with popcorn for everyone listening.
Yeah, wow. I kind of wish that Zach's co-host over at IPC, Ben Hart, was on for that. Wow. I can't say
you wanted unbiased.
I know. Hey, that's what this show's about. If people came,
this is the Star Wars hot takes that I don't get to make on IPC. I'll put it that way.
Well, if people want a Star Wars show where we give gold stars to everything just because it has the Star Wars name attached to it, you're listening to the wrong fucking podcast.
There are enough of those out there. Find another one.
Yes, exactly. It's not saying we're going to hate on everything. That's not the case at all.
I'm going to hate on what I hate, and I'm going to love on what I love.
Exactly, yes. Oh, God, that sounded way too close to Rose's line in The Last Jedi. Oh, God. I'm assuming Andrew's still taking care of the little Ewoks. I haven't heard him. So we're going to take a moment right now to play a audio clip from Mondo. Mondo has taken a self-imposed hiatus. We hope he's back in the future. He needed some of his Wednesday nights cleared up. But he was kind enough to send us this audio recording. Actually, it's a 90-second one. I didn't think he could send ones over a minute. It's a 90-second audio recording of his thoughts on the possible George Lucas Kenobi movie. And here we go.
Yeah, I think a George Lucas created Obi-Wan film might sound on paper like it's what everybody wants and it's what everybody should have. However, I don't think so. I think when you look at the rift between George Lucas and what they did with Episode 7, with them in Disney, and I just don't know if that cohesive unit between the two of them would create the best Obi-Wan film possible. Because at the end of the day, that's what you want more, right? You want it to be the best film possible. And I think that there would be too much conflict between the two of them, and I just don't see that happening. What I would like to instead have is maybe George Lucas have a crucial part in making it, but not necessarily take the project on himself. And I'll say this, I don't have a lot negative to say about the prequels. However, I do understand where some people come from with those and the decisions that George Lucas made during those as well. So I'm very skeptical if that is true. I have seen the reports and the rumors, but like I said, I kind of hope it's not, because I think if it is true, then we're not going to be getting the best final result that we could possibly get.
There you have it, Mondo with his 2 cents on the Lucas Kenobi movie, if it happens. Highly unlikely, as we said. And Mondo doesn't want it. Doesn't want it. And, as a guy who heard about these Kenobi movie rumors for a few years now, we've been talking about it. First it was Ewan McGregor's actually going to star and direct the movie. And that report was given out years ago. It's going to be Stephen Daldry, to it might be James Mangold, to now maybe it's George Lucas. I accepted the fact that when Solo was the disaster it was behind the scenes, it probably meant that we weren't going to get a Kenobi movie, and I'm still there. I think it's way more likely that you would get Ewan McGregor to sign on the dotted line for a 10-episode or an 8-episode, Disney play series a few years from now. And if someone's going to make me choose between a Kenobi TV series following him in those years and a Kenobi movie, well, guess what? I'm taking the series every single day. What about you guys? Series or movie if you had to choose?
Do you want to shoot me now or hang me at dawn?
Oh, wow. Zach is on fire tonight.
I mean, I'd probably take the series because I think they'll put more into the story. I mean, I've talked about this before. Series that have 8 to 10 episodes, like Daredevil, Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, they've had some pretty good success because you're getting to flesh out the characters more. You're getting to go on more adventures. You get to tell a better story. I think if they did that with Obi-Wan Kenobi, if it's the right story, then yeah, it's worth 8 to 10 hours instead of 2.5 hours in the movie theater. I feel like that they may even be more respectful. And then you could get Lucas to direct one of the episodes just so that, he gets his involvement but not having to be too involved. That might be a happier medium than the feature-length film, but I'm still not a fan of the concept in general.
Fitzgerald?
It's a tough question because there's so many factors involved, TV series versus film. It all comes down to who's doing it and how they're doing it and what the plan is. Because you can pack a lot more into a TV series, but then it comes down to so many other factors, things like budget, timing, scheduling, and things of that nature. And I don't know how much time Yoon actually has for a TV series nowadays. I mean, he's doing 2 other ones currently, I think. And I think films are probably better, but I'd prefer a TV series myself because it's smaller, it's easier to digest, even in larger quantities, which sounds weird, but it's easier to digest a 10-episode series than a film because it's so much easier to rewatch a TV series than it is to rewatch a film because just simply based on cost. For a TV series, once you've paid the cost once, whether it's through the cable provider for the cable channel or the streaming service or wherever it's available, you've made that one investment and you can watch it as many times as you want. Whereas a film, multiple times, multiple tickets, concessions, all that stuff just makes it so much more cost prohibitive as a viewer that I'd much rather a TV series 9 out of 10 times.
I think TV series are more rewatchable too. And I have a lot of favorite movies, and I like watching movies, but I'm more of a TV series guy now. I wasn't when I was younger, but I am now. So I'm with you on that one.
I've escaped from the Sandcrawler.
He's back.
The draw was almost got me, but nah, not tonight.
All right. So...
I can't believe you are calling your children Jawas.
What are you talking about? They are Jawas. Small in the night, little beady eyes.
Little beady eyes? You going full on Steve Austin on us? Wow. So what's your take on if Lucas was to do a Kenobi movie answering to Disney, and if you'll think it'll happen, the rest of us don't. But what's your take on it? And if you had to choose between a Kenobi movie and a TV series, what would you choose? The floor is yours, man.
I don't think I'd run another TV series. There seems to be getting kind of saturated with we got the Mandalorian coming. We got Resistance going on right now. We have that short episode thing going on that actually looks ridiculously good. The revamp of I guess the original series. I mean the original movies, but in nicely animated. I don't know if you guys caught any of that.
I did. Yeah.
Okay, it looks pretty good. And then on top of that, the Cassian stuff coming. So I don't want another TV series at a time. I think we're going to be pretty full on TV series.
Cancel the Cassian TV series. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but I mean, the fun part is that you're going to be putting him in that era has got lots of holes that could be filled out, especially from that perspective. So we might be able to see some pretty cool stuff, as well as like, that good feeling of experiencing some of the old characters, or even hearing about the old characters. Like, even when you get the Rogue One, when they get those cameos, or not cameos. From the original characters, it just, it feels still pretty good to look at them, in my opinion. So but in regards to George Lucas coming back, I don't know. It might happen, I mean, perhaps, but I thought that he was kind of out of the whole thing, basically. But I mean, it wouldn't be horrible. In the essence of this, and this is the weirdest part, that currently everyone is begging for what George Lucas did that nobody liked at the beginning. Everything is hitting Clone Wars now, right? Battlefront 2, Clone Wars, X-Wing miniatures, and tons of different games regarding Star Wars is Clone Wars. And like everybody wants Clone Wars material, or like all this and stuff from like, right. They're like, oh, bring those characters out of the movies and stuff like that. So I mean, could be also. From the Clone Wars series also was really incredible. That could be a bit of it as well, but I mean, maybe the show, or maybe the Kenobi movie would suck, but then in like 10 years from now, we would all be like, we'd all just want content from it. So, I don't know. Yeah.
Well, hey, I think you share a lot of the same views that the rest of us do, and Star Wars is in a weird place right now, needless to say.
Mm-hmm. What nobody wanted before, everybody wants now. They're begging for Clone Wars material.
Well, they're going to get it season 7 next year. There's definitely a log gem that's apparently going to come at the end of next year. Apparently, we're getting Clone Wars season 7,
oh, I cannot wait for that,
and episode 9, all within the span of like 2.5 months. I don't know how that's supposed to work, but
give me the Disney streaming right now. Let me throw my money at you.
I'm hoping you don't need a cable provider to have it. I don't have cable. I don't have a need for it.
I think that would be a poor move. I don't think they'll do it like that.
That you think you can get it without cable?
Yeah, I think you'll be able to get it without cable.
It's gonna be like Netflix. It's a subscription-based service.
But it's gonna be interesting because Netflix is like Netflix and chill, right? But then what is it gonna be called? Like D and chill? Like get straight to the point.
I'm not touching that one with a 10-foot pole.
You would need it.
D plus and streaming.
DNP.
Okay. No. Just no. Stop. Right there.
Hey, that's the initials.
We're getting like,
I'm just saying.
We're getting like double the content, right?
The initials for this thing is DP. Just
stop.
say it.
Just stop.
I can't wait to penetrate these Star Wars films and all the show that just really get into them.
All right, let's move on here.
You mean we got to go deeper into our show notes?
We got to go much deeper in.
Yeah,
they're asking for more.
Take it deeper. Yeah, take me deeper.
So Zach
deep.
shared a picture with our Fandom Cantina group yesterday, I believe it was, of the Russo brothers meeting with Jon Favreau and Taika Waititi on the set of The Mandalorian. If those that don't know, Waititi is not only an advisor on The Mandalorian, he's directing the season finale or series finale. We don't know if The Mandalorian is meant to be a one-off or not. And he's supposed to play a character in the show as well. So Waititi is definitely very busy at this time. But it makes me wonder, are the Russo brothers planning on having something to do with this down the line? Is it just a reunion picture, or are they on set for a reason?
Of course, like everybody wants Star Wars. Everybody wants to get on it.
Specifically, the Favreau project. It's leaning heavily on a lot of MCU vets, and I wouldn't write off the possibility of maybe them doing an episode down the road or something. Zach, where you be with this?
Well, they also have the director of the 2 Ant-Man movies with them as well. So,
right, I forgot to mention him.
Yeah, so it feels like a reunion picture. I can't remember the man's name off the top of my head. It's a very forgettable name because he directed 2 very forgettable movies. But
Wow. Shots fired.
Wow.
But he
Where's our
he
sound
was
effects? Can we
he
just
was
like
there
Yosemite Sam it? Perfect.
as were the Russo brothers and Watiti, as you mentioned. It makes sense that Watiti was there because he's working with Favreau on the project. So they had 3 guests. And that's the only viewpoint that I'm trying to take right now, because if I do let myself believe that now that the Russo brothers are done with Infinity War, they're going to start working on Star Wars, my head might explode. So I'm gonna try and keep my head level as I can, so that I can continue to dish out these hot takes for you guys. But it feels like a visit to the set and maybe like lunch to talk about the series or something like that. That as far as involvement is concerned, either fish or cut bait, in my opinion. Either announce that the Russo brothers are involved in Star Wars now, or just call it a reunion photo and move on with life.
Fitzgerald?
Pure happenstance. I don't think it's anything more than a collective group of creative people getting together for how do you do that just happens to be on the set of The Mandalorian.
Alrighty. Ianda? Where are you with this?
Honestly, it's probably just probably a little bit of speculation of the time being. People just like trying to put pieces together that may not even fit there. So like, there's just so many good things coming our way. Like, I don't think we even need to be greedy and try to like look for even more at this moment. There's so much content coming. Before we know it, we're gonna be just swarmed by everything, and let the surprises come. Like, nothing's confirmed. No point in getting all worked up about it.
Yeah, I can't see this happening too. I mean, they've already gotten Favreau and Taika Waititi and Bryce Dallas Howard and Filoni's involved, and let's not forget you got Benioff and Weiss doing their own movie series, which sounds like it's taken precedent over Rian Johnson's movie series.
You say that like it's a bad thing.
Oh no, it's a very good thing. Thank fuck. Hey, if you've never seen, I know a lot of people go, well, all they did was direct and produce some of the Game of Thrones stuff. It's not like they're the creators behind it. My God, you need to go and watch some of the Game of Thrones behind the scene stuff. The schedules that these guys make happening are insane. The writing that these guys have done is not the same as the books. And let me tell you, I have the books now. I have finished the first book, and there are considerable differences. It's not the same. We are not the same, as Batman once told Mario in some cafe. So
very relatable. Okay.
What?
Don't laugh at him.
Yeah, it. I'll tell you what. Come on. It'd be one hell of a way to say, "Hey, we're trying to get things back on track." Here are the Russo brothers, and technically speaking, I mean, I'm not really for this Cassian show, but if they came out and said, "By the way, the Russo brothers are doing it," since they haven't attached any creative name to it, that'd get me excited for it.
We all like it when Sage is excited.
I
Everybody wins.
don't even know what to say.
When Sage gets excited, everybody gets deeper.
Oh boy! Don't forget, DP comes out next year.
Yeah.
Hey, we already had DP2 earlier this year.
Huh?
What?
Yeah, I know. That went over
Get
my
back on the
head.
soundboard. Cue the crickets. Cue them.
Deadpool 2.
Oh, right.
but-
And now they're doing the kiddie version this holiday season, Once Upon a Deadpool, which I think is stupid as hell.
Well,
I'm gonna have to agree to disagree on that. Deadpool reading a story to grown-up Fred Savage is something I never knew I needed to see until I knew I needed to see it.
let's not forget, it's only for 10 or 12 days, whatever. I think it's 12 days. And
It is the 12 Days of Christmas.
yeah, and
it's going to be crazy funny, too.
and they're doing it for the Fuck Cancer charity, and that's definitely something close to my heart. Although I'll say, if you were gonna do that, I think you needed to do more than $1 a ticket to it. I think you could have afforded to do $2 or $3 a ticket Just
Oh
saying.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, the cost for us to go play games on a Tuesday night is $3.
so there we have it for there. Let's move on to the case of Kylo Ren. Here's my case. I'm gonna state my case, and then you guys are gonna tell me what you think of it, and give me your own opinion. Maybe you have your own case.
You're already wrong.
So
We're all bringing cases.
the case of Kylo Ren. When we were introduced to him in the trailers for The Force Awakens, he had the visual aesthetic of a Revan, definitely a Darth Revan appeal to him. He had the cool crossguard lightsaber, and his character looked gritty. Not to mention he had the brilliant Adam Driver portraying him. I loved everything about Kylo Ren in The Force Awakens. I can even live with what happens to him in The Force Awakens. I know a lot of people are still of that. Well, how did Rey beat him? And maybe they should have done
a bowcaster.
Yeah. That's why he's
Did
literally.
you see the
bleeding out.
stormtroopers flying away when they got shot by the bowcaster?
The book does a better job of explaining that than
Han
the film.
Solo
Yes, the
loves
book
it
does
for a
a-
reason.
The book does a way better job of explaining that. I know, you get two examples of it in the movie, but they probably should have done a little better job than him pounding his chest a couple of times. They could have had him struggle a little more than that. Anyways, he gets beat by Rey. And then it's like in The Last Jedi, they stripped down everything that was cool about him. The gritty costume was gone. The mask was gone. And I partly feel like the only reason they got rid of the mask was because Adam Driver didn't like wearing it. But like they even got rid of his the attire that he wears in The Last Jedi
It
is
makes me perspire
completely
a
different.
lot around my face.
Completely different than the attire he wears in The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, he has this gritty, dark look to him, and in The Last Jedi, it's like, oh, all of a sudden I have this cape and I'm practically wearing a First Order suit underneath it.
All villains must wear capes. That's a rule. It's written somewhere.
Well, he had one in The Force Awakens, but it was shorter and grittier. But let me. This is my problem: is he kills Han Solo, right? At least we think.
What?
There's some people out there that are
Spoilers!
still convinced
Damn.
that
Jeez.
Han might have activated the lightsaber, even though I
No.
don't think that's a chance. There's a chance of that. So he kills Han, but he loses to Rey. He was shot, but he still loses to Rey. So in the next movie, this character that was built up to be the cool new villain, someone to really root for, he gets made to look like a complete idiot by Force projection Luke.
Yes.
And just, yes, he kills Snoke. He unknowingly to Snoke sets him up to kill him. And while Kylo Ren's a badass during that fight sequence, he still loses to Force projection Luke and still has the temper tantrums. And I can't help but sit here and think, going into this last movie, since they've decided to kill off Snoke, again, we think, is Kylo Ren even a believable main villain for this last movie? Because as much as I love the character, and he is my favorite character in the new movies, I'm going to go with no. It's kind of like I'm going to do a pro wrestling thing here, McMahon. I know you haven't been a part of the Fandom Cantina discussions, but Mondo and I for a few weeks were going on about how it's like some of the writers have seemed to forgotten that wins and losses do matter to fans and how they can be perceived. If you have someone lose again, their importance starts to die down. Your ability to believe in them starts to die down. And I gotta say, I don't believe in Kylo Ren for this third movie. He's gonna have to do some wild fucking shit, or they gotta come up with a new villain for him to be caught in the middle or something. Because I have no belief in him as the main villain because they haven't made me believe he could successfully do anything other than kill a 67-year-old man.
He was really good at that, though.
What's your take, guys? Kylo Ren, Case Kylo Ren.
Oh, you man, you had me too. I was like ready to argue everything you had to say up until the very end when you're like, I don't believe he'll be the main villain. I think that
I'm not saying I don't believe he will be the main villain. I'm saying I can't believe in him as the main villain.
we can't believe in him. Yeah. I was liking a lot all the that's the tough part, right? You're exactly right when you're like loss. You know, you lose a little faith in him as to like that big potent villain. He. It was cool to see him put in his place by someone he perceived as being much weaker than him, and that he had grown so much from being Luke Skywalker. It was so good to see Luke just completely put him in his place and like make him look like an utter fool in front of his entire army, essentially. Well, battalion, whatever we want to call it, but yeah, I know it'll be really hard. It was hard to see Snoke go. I was really very interested in that character. I'm still interested in that character, but a little less now because he is perceivably dead. Yeah, I would be totally okay with a switch in the movie coming, where again he's left to be but a child, and flailing and trying to figure out things. I don't think he's going to be redeemed. I don't think he's going to survive. But I don't necessarily know if he's going to be actually be the main villain. I think that'll actually may switch up. So yeah, I don't believe in him. But I do like aspects of him, but I don't believe in him as the main villain.
I'm with you on that, guys. How about the other two?
Well, I'm gonna jump in before whatever hot take Zach's about to deliver.
He's delivering us hot cakes.
Takes. Hot takes.
Oh, man,
Takes,
don't
right,
get me
right.
excited for hot cakes.
I want some
I'm
hot
hungry.
cakes.
It's 12 a.m. It's too early for hot cakes.
It's never too early for hot cakes.
It definitely is too early for hot cakes.
You keep talking before I get over there and shove a hot cake down.
For me, it's I don't know what to believe with Kylo Ren. I mean, they spent all of 7 building him up as something interesting and fun and just an enigma wrapped in a mystery, wrapped in a giant ball of angst. That was Kylo Ren. And then Last Jedi happened, and it just unraveled that entire ball and turned him into nothing but angst. And if I want to see angst, I'll watch Degrassi. Okay, like I don't go to Star Wars to see teenage high school melodrama, and that's what Kylo Ren is. Is there potential there to do something fun and interesting and make me go, whoa, that took a turn? Yeah, I mean, Zach presented a pretty good example of a possibility for that to go last week with his double agent thing.
I still stand by it.
So there's potential, but yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily believe in him as the main villain right now. Obviously this can change my mind very easily, but right now I don't believe in Kylo Ren.
Mr. Hot Take?
Ooh,
Well,
hot takes.
So I don't know if this is going to be as hot a take as some of the other stuff that I've said tonight. I'm gonna try and be as level-headed as I can, because I actually feel pretty strongly about this, and I don't want to be taken, like this is in jest, because like McMahon said, I subscribe to the theory that he was never the villain to begin with. I subscribe to the idea that he is confused, perhaps, that he is misguided for sure, but I don't believe he was ever meant to be the actual villain of this series. I think he, based on some of the things that we've observed, I believe he's a big mama's boy. I believe that he is very attached to Leia, and that his motives and his actions have been to distract the First Order away from her, to subvert their actions away from her, because every time something arises where he has the opportunity to either keep her safe or to encounter her, his actions are with the intent to preserve her life. You look at the use of the Starkiller base weapon in The Force Awakens. He is very, very fixated on a girl that's a Force user. The only reason being because she has a connection to Leia. As soon as Rey escapes, the temper tantrum isn't so much about her escaping as much as it is his link to keeping his mom safe no longer in his grasp. And he freaks out because he doesn't have the control to protect her that he thought he did. In The Last Jedi, he's in his starfighter. He's attacking the Raddus. He has a clear shot at the bridge. And they do that cut back and forth where he has a bonding moment and recognizes that his mom's on board that ship. He hesitates. He stops. And somebody else takes the shot. A shot that he didn't want taken in the first place. And the reason that he's got these double agent actions now is because he made up his mind that anything he could do to take care of Leia during this resistance that she's formulating, he wanted to try his best, his utmost, to keep her alive. So he may have already been working for the First Order, but then when he caught wind that his mom was forming a resistance, he realized that he needed to use his influence in order to try and keep her alive. When Snoke went on his tangent about what he was going to do to the resistance, he mentioned crushing it at one point to Rey, I believe. Ben then realized that as long as Snoke was in power and giving out the orders, he would never have the opportunity or the influence to keep her completely safe. I believe his killing of Snoke was an impulse to try and assume power sooner than he anticipated so that he would be able to control what happened down on Crate. As soon as his duel with Ghost Luke was finished, who led the charge into the base on Crate? He did. He didn't want a general going in there first. He didn't want someone the equivalent of Phasma to be going in there guns a-blazing. They went in there uniformly because he didn't want Leia hurt. One little ship gets away. I'm sure there are multiple ships in orbit, but the Falcon gets away. Yes, it has the ability to hide itself from the tracking systems. Han proved that in Empire, but Han's not there. Leia's not in the cockpit. So somebody had to be flying the Falcon in an escape measure to get away from all of that. With the First Order in orbit, who's in control of the First Order at the end of the movie? Kylo Ren. He let her escape because he wants her to stay alive, even if it means that she is now resisting the order that he is in control of. Does this mean he's going to bring about a lot of change? Maybe. He talks about letting the past die, and that's where I answer your question finally, Sage. Is he a believable villain? I don't believe Episode 9 is going to have a villain, because that is a common trope that they have been using in previous Star Wars movies, and The Last Jedi set a precedent that they wanted to do away with a lot of the old traditions and bring in something new. He's going to be an intriguing character. He may even be an antagonist to our heroes like Finn and Poe and Rey, but I don't believe he's going to be a villain. I believe the concept of hero versus villain is going to be a lot more gray and ambiguous in Episode 9. He will play a big factor in it, but I don't believe he will be a villain because his ultimate goal is to see Leia live. We know that Carrie Fisher is passed away now. So what an amazing story it would be if all of his actions had been to try and keep his mom safe. And then at some point in Episode 9, he is very, very close to reuniting with her just in time for her to die in his arms or something like that. Not only would it probably careen his character off the deep end into the darkness that he's been trying to avoid giving into. But it would also mirror what happened to Anakin in episode 2. All of his actions trying to save Shmi, and she ends up dying in his arms, which also pushed him off the deep end. Who has Kylo Ren been following, admiring, trying to emulate, especially in The Force Awakens? Darth Vader. I'm just putting that out there. There's a lot of potential for his character to be trying to get back to Leia. He loses her, and that's what pushes him over the edge the way it did with Anakin in Attack of the Clones.
Well,
We got there.
I think there's a lot that we already know from what's in canon that would prevent some of that from happening. But if it did happen, believe me, I'm going to be pointing the finger at you, and I'm going to be going, this guy fucking knew. He had people,
Yeah.
spies, droids on the set.
So here's the deal. It's wishful thinking on my part, because as a writer, that's the kind of story I would want to tell. You know? That's the kind of thing that I wish would get told. And it would explain a lot of the canonical complaints and a lot of the storytelling complaints that I had from The Last Jedi. I am trying to rectify a lot of the complaints and problems that I had with the previous movie by adding a lot of these other aspects in. Did I embellish? Absolutely. Is it something that I wish I could see on screen in episode 9? Also, absolutely.
Well, time will tell, man. Time will certainly tell. I think that we can. I think we got in our episode 9 talk for this show, and we're around our 1 hour time limit, so it's time to wrap this thing up. But I think we can say firmly, the case of Kylo Ren, what would it be? The decisions in.
The verdict.
The verdict. Thank you.
Yes.
The verdict is in. And we find Kylo Ren not believable as the main villain for episode 9. Guys, that's going to do it for this week's show here. I thought that the outro music was playing on my TV, not my headphones, but we're good. That's going to do it for the first official episode of the Star Wars Syndicate podcast.
Debut.
Go around the table and say goodbye to everybody. Ayanda, thanks for joining us tonight,
Goodbye,
man. Hopefully
everybody.
we can have you on more often.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. I really appreciate the invite. I'm happy to be here.
Fitzgerald, same goes for you, man. Thanks for taking part in this and giving your 2 cents. I don't know how you and Zach switched places there for a bit, but you did.
I told you it was Freaky Friday, and now we can, touch hands and go back to our regular bodies, or however we reverse the curse here. Also, next time, before we start the case, I just would like you to say submitted for the approval of the Midnight Society, because that
Yes.
very much felt like the beginning of an Are You Afraid of the Dark episode.
Yeah, you have to bring glitter each week and throw it on a fire at home.
Now the Canadians here are like, yeah, well, I totally understand that, and Zach's sitting there like, what?
Zach, thanks for doing this tonight, man. It was a pleasure to have you on a Wednesday.
It was a lot of fun. Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry if I took up a bit more airtime than I was supposed to be allotted, but who knows? Maybe I'll be quiet as a mouse next time. Maybe I'll be back with more hot takes. I guess you guys will have to tune in to find out.
We love
Hot
your hot
cakes.
takes as long as you're bringing the hot cakes. Exactly. And that's going to do it for us for this week. Don't forget, we have our currently untitled Game of Thrones show starting in what I'm guessing will probably be late January. Seems like probably a good time for it to come out. The build up to the final season of Game of Thrones, and then we'll be doing recaps of each of those episodes. You can tune into the Wayward Roadhouse podcast this Friday morning live if you want, if you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and if not, then you can catch it on Anchor and check out the Fandom Cantina podcast next Wednesday, 10 p.m. Eastern, for Zach and Mick Fitzgerald and Iande, and even Mondo, who had a 90-second cameo. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Remember, this is a Star Wars podcast without bias. Take it easy.